Hate, hate's going around. It's breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. Oh, the force of evil plans to make you its possession. Okay, we rolling. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Mental House with me, your host, Khadija. Listen, I want to share something with y'all and just take a poll, or for those of y'all who are listening to this video, let me know if you have heard of this organization and what do you think about this organization. I just want y'all to know I'm from the generation of Twilight Zone, Rod Sterling, and every time I move, at first I didn't know what the hell was going on, and every time I move, I hear this baby doll, right? And the baby doll is saying stuff like, "No, it's mommy," and I'm like, "What?" And there's no toys that I see in here. You know, every once in a while my grandbaby does come up in here, but I'm like, oh my God. So you almost saw me busting up out of here and running because I thought it was that episode. Y'all remember, those of y'all old enough who remember those dolls coming alive, running amok in the house. Okay? So that's my generation scary. Okay, but anyway. Rebecca, I want to thank you for sending this. This was sent to me again by a Caucasian listener of mine, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the work that your organization, the organization that you belong to, the work that you do, and I think that it's commendable. That is what you feel compelled to do with your spirit, and work with that group wholeheartedly and diligently. Keep doing it, and I'm going to share the information that you gave with me, who your organization, or what your organization that you belong to, I should say, represents, and who you guys are. A lot of us have heard of you, but a lot of people haven't. But for those of us who haven't, or those who haven't, I have. I want to be clear. And then I'm gonna make my comment at the end of reading your kind of like summary or introduction to who you guys are. I'm gonna leave my comment because I believe that these organizations are extremely valuable. And again, thank y'all for y'all work. Okay, and what she sent me said, people always asking me about the African People's Solidarity Committee, and what is that? And how is the African People's Solidarity Committee different from the other organizations that are out here? How are they different? Okay, the African People's Solidarity Committee is a white organization that was founded by the African People's Socialist Party, led by Chairman Omali Yeshita. We organize in the white communities under the leadership of the African Liberation Movement. We are a strategic component of the African movement aimed at breaking the colonial unity that most white people have with U.S. or European imperialism. Our work is not based on charity. The African People's Socialist Party has a political theory called African internationalism. This is a world view seen through eyes of oppressed African workers as oppressed to the eyes of the European oppressors. I'm sorry, as opposed to the eyes of the European oppressors. We have adopted African conclusions. We have adopted internationalism as our world view, and therefore, under the APSP leadership, we can unite with the conclusions that African and oppressed peoples have come to. Everyone can begin to look at the world from the other side of this oppressive equation. You can too. We believe that if we white people are going to be a positive part of the future of this planet, then we must see the world as a majority of humanity and experience it. We must unite with conclusion that imperialism and colonialism domination in all forms must go. The African People's Solidarity Committee understands that capitalism was born and is maintained from the enslavement of African people, the genocide of indigenous people, and the colonial theft of land, labor, resources, and self-determination of the majority of the peoples on the earth. This understanding is a key component of African internationalism, the political theory of the African People's Socialist Party. Capitalism had no benign origins. It was born from the blood, suffering, and brutal repression of hundreds of millions of people for the benefit of the white population, a tiny minority of the world. An honest look at history shows that the trade in African human beings, the slaughter of indigenous people, and the theft of their resources transformed Europe from feudalism to capitalism. Capitalism was always parasitic and brutal. Capitalism continues to require the subjugation and theft of the resources of the majority of the non-white people to maintain wealth and power to a few. The problem facing African people inside the U.S. is not necessarily racism, it is colonialism. Africans are one people around the world. Some were divided by colonial borders imposed on by the continent of Africa. Some were forcibly dispersed to U.S., Brazil, the Caribbean, and elsewhere through trade in African people. In either case, African people have been nothing but commodities, slaves, and disposable pawns for the colonial theft of valuable resources. African people inside the U.S. have been described as second-class citizens, but a second-class citizen is a colonial subject. African people had to struggle for the right to vote and only won it 100 years after the end of chattel slavery. Today, African people in the U.S. have one dime for every dollar. White dollar has a dime, for every dollar white people have. Africans make up over 50% of the 2.5 million people filling the lucrative U.S. prison system. It is well documented that the U.S. government imposes drugs on African communities, and then the communities bear the brunt of the government's war on drugs. A militaristic counterinsurgency plan to maintain colonial status of Africans. African people are facing up to 50% unemployment in urban areas and face mass foreclosure after being targeted for subprime mortgages. It might make us feel good to attend sessions on learning racism, but it does not change any of the colonial conditions faced by African people inside this country. African people will lead and win their self-determination and liberation. We can stand in solidarity with that, or we're going to learn to deal with that. I'm sorry. African people will lead and win their determination for liberation. We can stand in solidarity with that fact, with that struggle. All white people sit on the pedestal of slavery and colonialism. This is a key point of African internationalism, and it is a hard one for many white people to accept. I get it. It's just like the narc. The narc cannot handle the truth. It will do anything. It's like nailing jello to a tree. If you just uncover the narcissistic behavior and the damn culprit, what happens? He can't take. He started pulling out all his military apparatus. He started sicking dogs on you, putting water hoses on you. When you tell him, I'm tired of you riding my back. So, but we ain't gonna go there. We're gonna continue to read. Anyway. This is all white people again sit at the pedestal of slavery and colonialism. This is the key point of African internationalism, but it is a hard one for many white people to accept. Many of us say, I'm not wealthy and I didn't do it. But the reality is that while very few of us are Bill Gates or Rockefeller, all of us owe our sense of entitlement to the greatest enjoyment of democratic rights and the highest standard of living in the world to the fact that this land was stolen from the native people and this economy is built on the enslavement of Africans. When the Europe set out to conquer the world, it was under a system of feudalism. A few lords and ladies ruled over the majority of people who were serfs tied to a land. As the planted resources of Africa and Americas flowed into Europe, the system of capitalism was born. The capitalist ruling class was born as the overthrew the feudalist lords. The capitalist middle class was born and became prosperous in this process as well. This same process also gave birth to the capitalist working class, transformed landless peasants to the richest workers on earth. Stolen land in the Americas, Australia, stolen Southern Africa was literally given away to European workers, and jobs were plentiful with only one tactic stipulation: stay loyal to white power and help carry out the colonial oppression of the African, indigenous, Arab, and Asian people. You get that? Do you get that? These are the bylaws, y'all. I ain't write this. Don't get mad at me. But there are some white people who are aware of this, and I want to make sure I honor you and I acknowledge you. Okay, so thanks, Rebecca, again. Let's see. We have to stay loyal to white power and help carry out the colonial oppression of the African, indigenous, Arab, and Asian people. White workers and their whole families voluntarily carried out open terrorism against African people throughout the popular lynchings. So I want y'all to know that is terrorism. That was sanctioned by the government. Okay, so when they talk all this terroristic shit to most black people, and we ain't even trying to hear that, because we already knew who the real terrorists are, really. And you see them right now when they go and shoot up the synagogues and go into churches and shoot. This is your terrorist. Alright? Homegrown. And it's been here as old as apple pie, as y'all like to say. Today, millions of white working people continue to support brutal wars against the people of the Middle East and against African people inside of this country. This is happening even as white workers may be losing their jobs, homes, while the bankers and the elite rake in billions of dollars of taxpayer money. Historically, white working people have preferred to be messed over by our own ruling class and maintain our whiteness than to stand in solidarity with African and oppressed people. Now, I want you to hear that real good, y'all, because a lot of you black people need to hear this. And I'll be back with part 2 of this.